Hi. Welcome to Tech Journey Insights, the podcast where I, Beverly Clarke, and
Rebecca Franks.
we share our tech journeys and our insights along the way. This podcast is designed to inspire you, and by sharing, we grow. So let's dive right in. What's new with you, Rebecca? What's going on?
Wow, it's been quite a good few weeks, really, because my company, Flip Computing, we've developed this new free 3D creation tool called FlockXR. I think we spoke about it last time.
We did.
And I've actually started teaching it to 4 year 7 classes in my local area. So we're creating this unit of work and we're piloting it in those schools. And this is all the feedback so far. The young people that we've been collecting, and we are reading it really, really carefully to try and make sure that we make a really good product that they can access, that they can use, that they enjoy using, and that they're giving us sort of inspiration for the kind of models that they want to see in the 3D world and things like that. Or if they found something too hard in the lesson, I'm thinking about, well, how do I rethink the structure of the lesson and that kind of stuff to make it better. So it's really, really helping us to create a really great unit of work for teachers to use in the classroom, but also a great 3D creation tool that young people enjoy actually using. So it's been really nice, actually, getting in there. It's very tiring going back to teaching. Obviously, teaching is a very tough job.
It is indeed.
It's nice to be able to. Yeah, it's nice to be able to go in, teach, and then go home again in a reasonable time, which is lovely. I mean, that's probably how teaching should be nowadays. I think it might help solve the recruitment crisis if more teachers were allowed to do that.
It's true. So for anyone listening, we're both former teachers and we have transitioned out of the classroom, and that's our tech journey. And we both work for ourselves, and it's this whole entrepreneurial spirit. So we're blending the educational world with the entrepreneurial mindset and spirit. And it's really, really great to hear that, because World Book Day happened a couple of weeks ago. And I too was in classrooms with my children's book series, The Digital Adventures of Ava and Chip. And I read book 2, Self-Driving Car. And there were activities around that, which I delivered to years 3, 4, 5, and 6. So it was one class after the next. And when I finished that day, I felt so excited, invigorated. And it was a part of teaching that I really enjoyed.
Yeah.
Positive part of teaching. That teaching is interesting, as you say, career. Some parts of teaching are not as pleasant as it is. And we have had long careers where we've taken the rough with the smooth. So, we might have stripes in education and teaching, but it's just really nice to be back in there working with young people and helping them to grow, develop, to aspire, to innovate also. It's really, really, it's really powerful, and it's a wonderful thing. I find it, as you just mentioned, quite uplifting, really.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's really uplifting, tiring, but it's like worth it at the end of it. But yeah, I do think there is something in that, in the sort of teacher recruitment crisis. Like, can we rethink teaching in the way that it works so that people can be more flexible with what they do? And I know it's highly impractical to just have teachers randomly turn up and teach a lesson or a couple of lessons and go. But maybe that's what we need, like for teachers to have that energy to bring to the classroom. Sorry, my dog decided to bark.
Hello, doggy. You're getting in on the conversation. Clearly, your dog has an opinion on this.
Yes.
So, it's reimagining teaching. It's something that I think is affecting worldwide recruitment. There is a worldwide recruitment crisis, not just here in the UK. This is one of the things that led me to write my very first book back in 2017, Computer Science Teacher, Insight into the Computing Classroom, because it's what is it like to teach, well, this demanding subject, but also just teaching in general, and I do think we need to rethink teaching and how we teach, how we timetable.
Yeah.
How can we get those people that are passionate in there? You shouldn't be.
I think recently, Scotland were starting an initiative where you could be a part-time software engineer and a part-time teacher. Don't quite know how that's going to work in practical terms, But maybe there is something in that, in like giving people more flexibility. And also then if you are a software engineer working in those roles, you can then bring that industry experience back into the classroom as well. But I mean, practically, I feel like they're both quite stressful jobs. Doing both of them at the same time would be quite, but I don't know, it might be refreshing to move between the two. I don't know.
It's that real world aspect. I think bringing that reality perhaps will enhance the experience of the learners and also of your colleagues, because you're sharing different opinions. And yeah, it's quite exciting. But I'll tell you something else that's going on, because in this podcast, you know, for our listeners, we share what's going on with us and we give tips. So you're learning a bit about us and what we're observing out there. So we'd love you to share your observations with us. And any of your tips that you've got along your tech journey or your career journey. So one of the things, the initiatives in which I'm involved in, both of us are involved in, is a charity which I founded, and Rebecca is chair of trustees. And the charity is called Technology Books for Children. And it does what it says. Basically, it's fostering and encouraging reading for pleasure on tech topics. Because we know that tech is dominating our world and changing everyone's lives. And we've got a small grant, but our first grant, for which we're very grateful. And we are delivering in the northeast of England. So that's coming very soon. And so it's been quite exciting going on that journey. So if you're a founder out there or a startup, this podcast is also for you, because many of the aspects are exactly the same. So reading, getting that first grant, that's a major milestone. I know your company also got the first grant quite recently, and that's a milestone. It's massive.
Yeah, it's getting the second one now.
That too. We're in the same situation. That desire to do good, to go to the areas of need is, well, it's within us, and we're going to keep doing it. So if you're listening to us and you'd like to sponsor, to get involved, please reach out. We have got products that we would like you to get involved with. Okay, so I'll just leave that one there. So we've got, you know, these new things going on. But I want to talk about something else that came into my sphere recently, and it was a headline around Neuralink and humans being augmented. Now, I was straight away really listening, thinking, I don't want anyone to augment me. What does this mean?
Yeah.
So essentially, when I dug into the article, it was talking about someone who was severely disabled, had suffered paralysis, and how they were then able to interact again through being augmented with a Neuralink device, and that positive benefit of being augmented in that way. What I then found concerning was this perhaps commercial aspect of wanting to have every person augmented. And I thought, why? What is in it for everyone? And then I was things like it could boost our memories, enhance our productivity. And I thought, who decided that this was needed? So I don't know what you think about this.
Yeah, well, it's like with everything with technology, there's always a real positive, like supporting people with disabilities and things like that, and getting them with movement or speech or whatever it is, amazing. But yeah, having everyone with the Neuralink technology, and then the potential for being controlled. You know, we're already being controlled through social media and the algorithms and things like that, and the way we think. If we're not sort of stepping back and thinking about what we're seeing and what's being pushed to us, that kind of stuff. So what's going to happen when there's a Neuralink device? You know, what are you going to be fed? What information are you going to be fed? What, you know, so that's the worrying side of it. And it's like, do we really need these things to enhance us in our sort of everyday to-day life? Probably not right now. I mean, it's worrying. It
is definitely worrying, because then there is a cost implication.
Yeah.
Is that going to deepen inequalities between those who have access to augmentation and those who don't? So I would approach with caution.
Yeah.
Because of the commercial aspect. Is this just another money-making opportunity? You know?
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
So, you know, and against this, so we've got things like, you know, suddenly we can augment people, and that's a headline which is of concern. And then is a very real issue we have is young people not having the digital skills for here and now.
Yeah.
You know, and we've got young people being unable to copy and paste an image from one location to the next. That hasn't gone away, although we're in an age of AI and things are being auto-generated for us. We still need those basic skills and understanding of what's happening. So even if something is being generated for you, you still need to understand what's going on behind the scenes.
Yeah, definitely. And I think the computing curriculum probably hasn't helped with this. I think the computing curriculum, it's absolutely in there to cover digital skills and creating all sorts of things with media and all that kind of stuff. But the focus on just programming has not helped with sort of widening the skill sets. So I think the fact that even though it's on the curriculum to do these things, but for some reason we've really narrowed it to these really theoretical, technical things and programming, we've then missed out. So there's like 10 years, there's a whole generation of young people that have grown up without learning those basic digital skills. So when I first started teaching, you were teaching how to create folders, how to send emails, how, you know, all of those things, but also just how to use the word processor, how to use spreadsheets, all those kinds of things. It absolutely got taught. You did lots of other things like graphics and animation, all sorts of wonderful things too, but you learned those basic skills. And it's kind of, I don't know, they've been left behind, those skills, because there's been this drive to focus on programming a lot. And I mean, I love programming, but it doesn't have to be 100% of the curriculum. We've kind of got a bit skewed with it. So I think, yeah, as computing educators, sort of as a system across the country, we've kind of got it wrong there, and we've got a lot of fixing to do with what's happened there with these digital skills.
Well, the thing is, as you said, it was always there. If you think of computing as an umbrella term, ICT was always there. So the question is, why did it disappear? Why was it downplayed? And I'm tempted to think some of it plays into other things, such as the teacher recruitment crisis.
Yeah, there's a teacher recruitment crisis. There's also the fact that there wasn't a GCSE computing, it was GCSE computer science. So there was that narrowing of the curriculum in Key Stage 3 so that people were focusing more on programming because they wanted them to pass the GCSE, which we know it's been proven the GCSE was too hard. There's all these systemic things that happened and it fed down into the younger year groups. And it's really caused big problems, you know. And then we've got this recruitment crisis of not having these teachers trained in computing, and teachers, and sometimes teachers are scared to teach it because they see all this programming stuff and they think, oh, I can't do that. And we haven't really done the work to sort of build the confidence in those teachers to do it, you know. And it's worrying.
And you would be scared to teach it because then if you're not getting the outcomes, because on the outcomes, then your job is at risk and you're deemed to be underperforming. So why do something where you're going to be exposed to that sort of scrutiny and harsh judgment effectively? So I think there are many, many different layers going on, but I have been really surprised by the lack of digital skills and the lack of organizations which, you know, schools which are just not teaching any digital skills, or kids are getting access to an iPad a couple of times a term. That does not translate to be digital skills. It's so hence the passion for setting up things like the charity. It's we're doing it through reading because it's fostering different skills. It's that critical thinking, it's questioning, it's problem solving. It's a whole load of other things going on also, and I do think that's the missing part of
and just to add to that, the schools that I have been in recently, you know, they are doing a very good job. So we know there are schools out there.
Absolutely,
there are schools out there that are really doing a good job in this area. It's just the national issue. If you look at averages, you know, there is real concern when we look at that as a national issue.
It's, you know, when you go to conferences, this is the feedback we've been getting. Say if you're at a conference, you're at a stand and you're talking to other people, this is where this is coming through. you can read many reports online as to this, as you said, is a national picture. Yes. So picking on any school anywhere. Let's clarify that. Or any teacher anywhere, please. Let's clarify that. But okay, let's continue on with the tech journey and insights. And please do, let us know your thoughts and your opinions on these very, very important and sensitive matters. So there's an article I saw a while back, and it was from the British Retail Consortium, and it was about cash, right? So I've got cash here.
And I haven't got any cash. I don't have any in my. Let me just have a double check.
Nope. Have you got cash? That's the question for you.
No, definitely not got any cash.
So you listening to this, or you're watching this, have you got any cash close to hand? Right. What's the reason for asking this? Well, since they've been through, the cost of living crisis, a lot more people are pivoting to using cash as a way of managing. So that £20 note I just held up, basically, if it costs £20, that's it. But if I'm tapping with a card, I'm more likely to overspend because it isn't physical, it isn't real. If I get change back from this, great, I know what I've got. So it's about looking at the impacts of tech. So being cashless has issues where people are overspending and getting into debt. So we've noticed people sort of rowing back and holding back and saying, no, we're going to go for cash because it helps us to manage our lives a lot better. And that's an observation on a tech journey. And how do we manage this? How do we teach about it? I know there are lots of apps out there teaching young people about financial literacy. And I think it's really important. We even saw it. We've got here in England, The Apprentice, which is similar to, well, I think it's an Apprentice USA too. So we've got it's a global sort of concept. And basically there was an app design for a children's banking product there. And I really watched it with great interest in typical Apprentice style. I tell you, it had a few issues, but it's about the impact of tech upon us. So when we talk about the impact of tech, it isn't just, something like other things out there, your Alexa and things like that. It is also how we spend money, our day-to-day activities. Because as we prep for this, you were mentioning tipping your hairdresser.
Yeah. That's the only time I ever have cash. So every so often I shall go and get a load of £5 notes from the bank. I can give her a £5 note. I don't know why.
You actually get into the bank. Do you actually find a bank in the high street?
I walk in and they always think that I'm completely strange for asking for £5 notes. And I say, oh, it's for birthday cards. I'm just like, it is a bit of a strange thing to do. But I don't know why. I always feel like I need to tip the hairdresser because I just always have my whole life. But I think it's not a normal thing anymore. I don't know if people do it or not, because of the cost of living crisis again, it's getting quite expensive to go to the hairdressers. And I think it was even in the news the other day that hairdressers are having to charge a lot more money because of the amount of tax that they're having to pay and things like that, and the changes to small businesses. So there's a lot of issues out there, but I think it's just one of those things. I've always done it, so I always have to give a £5 note at the end. But I don't see anyone else tipping hairdressers. I feel like it's just me. But anyway, I'm not going to stop. So
let's find out what our listeners think about this, and do they tip, and do they carry cash? Or I'll tell you something else on the tech journey. I walked into a cathedral, it was Westminster Cathedral the other day, and anybody who goes into a cathedral or generally the religious establishments, there's a lighting of a candle, and I usually go in there, I light a candle and say a prayer. And I did have a £2 coin on me, so I popped that into the box. But next to it, there was a contactless machine. So if you went into the church, you can tap. And I've seen contactless in churches and other places before. So it's about adapting. So, you're in an old church and it's, historic also, but yet there is that contactless because you've got to merge the two.
Yeah, well, that's it. You've got to adapt, or you're not going to get anywhere, are you? If people haven't got cash, then you need to use the swipe.
Yeah. Well, actually, you bring us on to our tips. We share tips
Okay.
for tech journey, and you just said the key word there, adapt.
Yeah.
Is definitely something you've got to adapt to stay relevant. So that's
Yeah.
a tip, really.
Definitely. Yeah. I mean, my tip is kind of related to what we're doing at the moment. So we're creating this unit of work. So FlockXR is always going to be free. It's a free and open source 3D creation tool, but we have to fund it somehow, or a company. So this unit of work we will be selling at a reasonable price that we've researched quite well with teachers and the market. But obviously we've been looking, well, what do our competitors do? Like the ones that sell units of work, what do they look like? So we've really been looking at those, seeing what their strengths and weaknesses are, and then pulling that back onto us. Like, can we critically analyze ourselves and find what our USP is, so that we can really promote that and how we're adding value to teachers and things like that. So we've been really sort of looking at competitors, analyzing them, seeing where we're sort of like, you know, better, what we can learn from them as well, like how are they marketing their products and things like that. So it's really important to sort of not stay in your little silo and just think, right, I've got this thing and I'm just going to sell it. You have to look at the market and you have to see why are you unique, why do people want to buy from you, where is your value? So it's really looking at that.
That is so spot on, Rebecca. I'm really glad you said that. So, you know, I wrote a book on self-development, and funnily enough, tip 25 is about letting your true self shine and bringing your authentic self. So you have got to know in business your USP. You know, you might want to call it your personal brand also. Who are you? What do you stand for? You know, why should anyone listen? Why should they invest in your product? So these are all things that anyone should really think about, whether you are on an entrepreneurial journey or you're working for someone. What value do you bring? What is the value here? And then follow it up with another tip, which is funnily enough one I did on my TikTok the other day. It's reevaluate. So you said you critically, not criticize, critically assess what's going on, reevaluate. Can I do better? What needs to be better? Why does it need to be better? And just really keep digging into those questions. So, and that's where the growth comes. Like looking at what's going on is really important. So I'm hopeful that those tips are helping our listeners. So progress, you know, that is a growth journey, really. It's really important. So, I mean, so actually coming back to the growth journey, one of the things I talk quite a lot about is the impact of tech upon us. So if anyone has heard me speak, I have a keynote which I do about the impact of tech upon self, society, community, you know, the impact of tech. And there's an article recently about the impact of tech upon hearing. Hearing loss.
I saw this with the noise cancelling headphones, was it?
Yes.
And that was so I think I mean, I've had similar issues as well. Like it's quite interesting when I read that article, because if you wear noise cancelling headphones a lot through your childhood, it can stop you from being able to process speech when there's background noise. And I have that issue myself. I mean, like in my childhood, I didn't have noise cancelling headphones. I just had normal, those orange ones that were on the cassette tape. So those are the ones that I had as a child. But I have those issues. I've had my hearing tested. I've got perfect hearing. But when there's other noises in the background, or just other things that are stimulating, so if it's, you know, the lighting's not right or there's lots of movement, I struggle to process the sound and, you know, really think about what somebody has said. So like I need to look at people's faces and see their mouth, and I guess I am kind of probably naturally lip reading and things like that. So I have this issue as well. So it's a little bit worrying that we might have this technology that is causing this as well. I don't think that's where I've got mine from, but like, in fact, these are noise cancelling headphones, so maybe it is.
It's a compounded issue, Rebecca.
maybe it's not just a childhood thing. Like maybe it is. Maybe I should stop wearing them. We shall see. But it is worrying, and I guess that's what we do have to think about with the impact of these things. We don't quite know the long-term impacts at this point, what we're doing, you know, even, we've got the iPad generation and all that kind of stuff. What will be the long-term impact on those things? We just don't know yet, and that's why we always promote balance, don't we, in terms of getting out there, doing your walks.
It is 100% balance, because I had an experience not too long ago. I was on a university campus. The campus is quite big, and I wasn't quite sure where I was going, and I just wanted to just ask someone, "Hi, do you know how to get?" I realized as I turned and spoke, everyone was just walking past me, because everyone has got their AirPods in or headphones, staring at their phones, head down. It was a bit of a bewildering experience, because how do you make contact? You just can't jump out in front of people suddenly. That will mark you out as not being very nice. So it really, I thought, oh right, okay. So I had to rely on myself, because I literally couldn't make this contact, much needed human contact at that point. So just that simple interaction was changed. And that's something I'm used to. And there's something else that's been coming out. I think we might have mentioned it previously. It's we've got lots of young people interacting with devices like an Alexa. They're just used to giving commands. So could we end up in a world where please and thank you are disappearing? Or do we say please and thank you to our voice assistants? I don't know.
No, I mean, I don't always. I feel like I'm polite. I don't think I'm demanding, and I'm never kind of rude to my like sometimes I might mutter under my breath, no, that's not what I wanted to, kind of thing. But I try not to. But I think that is as we sort of grow up with these tools, we do need to think about how we are interacting with them, because I mean, some people say no, they're just computers, and you just have to give them explicit instructions, blah blah blah. But actually they're becoming so much part of our social lives as well, and our normal everyday lives. I do feel like we can't let it spill over, that sort of commanding kind of attitude. We can't that spill over into sort of natural conversation. It's like you see those videos of people pushing over the robots. Have you seen those?
No.
Oh god, there's been a couple of them now on TikTok where people have got a robot that's like quite a humanoid robot, and they're pushing it over, and it almost is like the robot is like asking for help or scared. It's like it's a really quite like emotional thing to watch, like the way they to it when you see it, because you're like, why are these people pushing this robot over? What are we teaching that robot about humans? And it is a bit like there is a real sort of debate here about how we treat these things, but people are like the people that are doing it are clearly just like, well, this is an inanimate object, I can do what I want with it. And it's like, well, when does that spill over into human beings?
Well, and this is the thing. So, if the children are just used to just giving these commands, and then they need to have, which they will do, human interaction. So you just can't say, give me this. Like, well, there's tone, there's please, there's thank you. So there probably are long-term studies going on into this right now.
Yeah.
So what's happening?
And I think it is. And I think a lot of the times, we do underestimate young people. Like, they can tell the difference between an Alexa and a human being. Well, like, we do underestimate. There might be circumstances where they don't. But in general, like, if we are sort of bringing these tools into our everyday lives, we can educate children as we're growing up as to, they are different things, and I do think they probably do get that, but then there'll be cases where they don't, and they see it as like almost like a parent in their bedroom, like reading them, so there is that there are definitely pockets of children that are getting that, but then there are other ones that quite happily and easily see the difference and know how to behave. So you can't just sort of blanket all children with this.
No such thing as one rule for all. But in what you just said there, education, we come back to it. Education being the key, also awareness of what's going on. You know, I mean, as we start coming towards the end of this episode, there's this one thing you mentioned, the word emotion there, and it jogged my mind to another article I saw around facial recognition and how it's being used. So there was an article that facial recognition was being trialed on some of our transport systems here. So just looking at people, say, passing through gates at a train station and what emotions were on their faces, and then training AI engines to basically effectively pick up on our emotion. I find that a bit disturbing. You know, this whole facial recognition thing. Even this week I had to age verify on an app. I had to just hold my phone up to my face and it determined how old I was. Now, the test for over 18.
Yeah.
I thought, oh, okay. Where did it, you know, what age did it determine me to be? What were the markers? I am very interested in that. So we've got a few things going on, all to do with the face and facial recognition.
Yeah.
But I do find it concerning when it's going to be deployed with my sort of explicit understanding. And this is where education comes in. Have I been told how it's being deployed? Who is deploying it? How are they using it? You know, I've got a lot of questions and seemingly there are not many answers coming back.
No, and that's what the algorithmic Justice League are trying to fight against in terms of especially facial recognition, and that being used to make important decisions about people's lives, and really sort of how do we protect ourselves from that? What are these tools trained on? All that kind of stuff, and where are the biases and in everything. So there's lots to consider there. Like we do need to embrace technology, but we've got to also be aware of, you know, the risks and the dangers and how it's going to impact society as we move forward with this technology that's being developed.
You know what? I think we're going to end on that note, because that really important. Do we even have any choice? Because if I didn't want to proceed with that particular system, that was my only route. So choice had been removed.
And it's the same with quite a lot of systems now. You're being forced to use technology or else that's it, you know.
Yeah, you cease to participate. So I think I'll leave that one for our listeners and our viewers to consider.
Yeah,
we have come to the end of series 2. So episode 6, series 2. This podcast just started from us just meeting up as two self-employed people and chatting and sharing our journeys with each other, and then we decided to share it with everyone else.
Yes.
So, what we'd like to do for series 3, which we're planning, is to start hearing more voices.
Yes.
Yeah, so really looking forward to that. So if you're interested, reach out to us on social media, so on a TikTok or Instagram. Let us know what you would bring to the Tech Journey Insights podcast. There's a possibility you'll feature on an upcoming episode. So for now, please do remember to follow us on Spotify, on YouTube Shorts, TikTok, Instagram, or reach out to us individually on LinkedIn. But for now, it's goodbye from
Rebecca Franks.
and for me, Beverly Clarke. See you soon.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.